voice of our station. Relax. Radio.
Welcome back to Relax Radio with me, Nick, giving you company all the way until 6 p.m. That's right. We're talking about all the things that is going on in the UK right now, and there's a lot of talk. And like I said, one of this is, how right now we're going through that situation where, there's the COVID situation going on, the close contact, and the possibility of getting locked in, getting into self-isolation. And that's something that we are preventing. The government has been preventing. And looking at other topics, also the universal credit of £20 top up is going to be phased out. Yeah, that's bad news for a lot of people as well, And the 20 a week increase to universal credit will be phased out in the autumn, is what the government has confirmed. And they're saying, okay, most of this is something that we'll be in our route to getting back to normal. This is something that we're definitely going to be doing. So the Work and Pension Secretary Theresa Coffey told MPs the boost introduced in April last year to help deal with the economic effects of COVID would face an adjustment. And the adjustment, I like how they phrase these kind of words. And when they specifically say adjustment, what they're trying to say is, okay, you know what? We're going to take away that £20 that we were giving you, and you're not going to be having that anymore. So six former work and pension secretaries have urged ministers not to end the uplift. So Ms. Coffey said the change had been a collective decision by ministers, and universal credit is claimed by more than 5.5 million households in the UK. So it was introduced to replace 6 benefits and merge them into one benefit payment for working age people. And they're saying, okay, this is something that a lot of these working age people, that category, they can be looking forward to this, and they can be, they will be able to get something like this. And it's a weekly £20 a week. This is what they're getting. And the top up was extended by 6 months in March, and Labour has called for it to continue beyond the autumn. But campaigners say the extra money, which is worth around £1,000 a year, has made the difference for some families between getting by and falling further into poverty. And they're saying, okay, there's a lot of these families as well going through all of this. And Ms. Coffey said the Commons Work and Pensions Committee that it would change this autumn alongside other measures put in place to help those affected by the pandemic. And she went on to say, ahead of October, we will start communicating with the current claimants to make them aware that will be being phased out, and they will start to see an adjustment in their payments. And we will be recognizing that this was brought in with the temporary measures to support people during the pandemic. And this is one of the reasons why they even increased there was a £20 a week, you're getting paid by the government, rather, a top up, a universal top up of £20. And they're saying they're going to take this away from you. And for the higher class worker people, so the people who don't really depend on this, they don't really feel like it's a big difference. But for the people who are from the middle class and below, well, these people are going to be feeling the struggle when this is completely taken off. And they're saying, like I said, campaigners have been saying that this extra money has been good for a lot of people, and it has been useful, and people have been using it to the best of their extent. And if they do take it away, well, they will be struggling. There will be more people will be driven into poverty sooner or later because of this. And earlier this week, like I said, 6 former Conservative workers and pension secretaries wrote to the Chancellor Rishi Sunak urging him not to end the uplift. And Sir Ian Duncan Smith, one of the signatories to the letter, said a failure to act would mean not grasping this opportunity to invest in a future with more work and less poverty, and damage living standards of health and opportunities for some of the families that need our support most as we are emerging from this pandemic. And they're saying, okay, this is something that we will expect, and something that we'll definitely be going through. And looking at all these things, like, you have to understand, like, a lot of these families as well will be depending on this. It might not sound like a big amount. £20 a week doesn't sound like a big amount, but it does add up with how a lot of people are going through these problems. I mean, look, they're going to be taking away the free school meals, and they're saying, okay, now people are supposed to depend on free school meals as well. The children will be getting this, but just for a month. And then there's all these talks as well. How they're lifting up the furlough scheme, how they're cutting off this one. I mean, they're trying to get back to normalcy 100% quickly as soon as possible. But you're taking out all of these options for people. Well, they're going to be falling into debt. They will actually be falling, and they are going to be struggling because of this. So this is just going to be costing people as well. well. So this uplift in universal credit has been a huge boost to some during the pandemic, adding more than £1,000 to budgets. But it costs billions of pounds, and as the Treasury grapples with the cost of the pandemic, some believe the money should be cut. There are, however, a number of prominent and influential Tories who want it to stay. So not just former DWP minister, including Ian Duncan Smith, who brought in the universal credit, but also many new Tory MPs representing northern seats the party won from Labour in 2019. So it's not just one person talking about this, but a whole bunch of people are talking about this, a whole bunch of Tory MPs as well. So they say this is going to be a big issue in the coming weeks, and the government is going to come under a lot of pressure, not just from opposition party. Okay, they're saying, okay, opposition is definitely always going to be against you. Whatever you do, opposition will always be against the current party. That's how it just works. But it's not only going to be from them as well. It's going to be from their own party members, and they will feel the pressure. They'll definitely feel the pressure. And because of that, Ms. Coffey also said that just as its introduction last year had been decided collectively by ministers, so was the decision to wind it down. And the government's focus was on jobs and all the things we can do to help people work more hours. And Labour's shadow work and pension secretary said the plans would hit the lowest paid hardest and hurt our economic recovery. They're saying, okay, the people who are going to be struggling from this, well, the lowest paid people, the people who are working at a low wage, well, they are the people who are going to be struggling because of this. And they say, these are just going to be it's going to be very problematic, looking into all of this. So Labour's shadow work and pension secretary said the plans would hit the lowest paid workers. And there is a near universal opposition to this cut, including from prominent conservatives. And it is time the government saw sense, back struggling families, and canceled their cut to universal credit. And this credit, right, like I said, this credit is very important. A lot of people are depending on this and are expecting something out of this, because look, when you cut off £1, it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a collective difference when you think about it. £1 is not a big deal. But, when you're getting £20 a week and then you gave this to people because they are struggling, a lot of these families, a lot of these, impoverished families, and families are not doing so well as you'd think. Well, these are the families that depend on this. And yes, you could say we could try filtering it out, but then at the end of the day, it's all about equality. So if we are cutting off the money from the people who don't really care about this, this cut, and because look, the ministers that don't care about it, well, for them, it's nothing from their pockets. It's not a big deal. But then there are families that are barely getting through. They're barely getting by even. Every day is just a struggle for them, and they have also mouths to feed. They have children at home. So we have to understand that this £20 cut may not be a big deal for a lot of people, but for the people that do depend on it, it is going to be a massive backdrop, and that's going to be a big problem. And people will be actually struggling because of this, and because of this, it could even end up in them being driven down to poverty, and that is also going to be of concern. And there's there has to be definitely looked into as the days come by. I hope the government knows what they're doing with this particular scheme, and they can come up with some sort of solid solution. Let's see how it goes. Hopefully the government will figure out a way. But hey, with that being said, we are going to be taking a real quick break, and we'll be right back after this, taking a look at your time right now. It is 3:52. Good evening. Climb Mount Everest. That is that's in my bucket list. You're laughing, but that is the facts right there. I'd love to do that. That is something I'm looking forward to do, hopefully.
Climb Everest.
Mount Everest. Okay, not the very tip of Mount Everest, maybe the base camp at least.
You're talking about mental health. Well, if you went out and got some exercise in the fresh air, that will improve your mental health. It will make you feel better.
That's true. That is true. I wholeheartedly agree. But then for some people, how do you find the motivation to, especially when it comes to riding a bicycle, to do it again and again and again and again? It's a cycle that you have to be used to. How do you do it? What makes you wake up in the morning and decide, hey, I'm going to pick my bike up today. I'm going to cycle. What makes you want to do that?
What makes me want to do that?
Yeah. What could you give listeners, like people listening in right now? What kind of tip could you give them?
Well, the first tip I would give them, if you haven't tried it before, try it. It can open up new horizons. It will make you fitter. It will definitely make you fitter. Cycling is one of the best forms of aerobic exercise you can do.
It sounds like, if you think about it, yeah, it sounds like great fun. Because what essentially you're trying to say is also at the same time, when if you look at it from this perspective, with regards to mental health, especially when you look at it with mental health, this is another way to fight it. I feel like you go outside, you meet more people, you interact with, socially, you will interact with more people, and you're keeping fit, you're making connections, you're breathing in the good and exhaling the bad. I feel like that's a great thing right there.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got a better way with words than I have, I'll tell you. But you're quite right. What you say there.
I mean, I've been doing this for quite some time. I mean, hey, you'll get the hang of it.
I've been doing it for about 10 minutes now, so yeah.
That I can never really understand people staying in one room the whole day when you can have the world to see. I am a traveler. I travel. I love traveling. Traveling is just one of the things I do. And on top of my bucket list was, to one time, hopefully when I get there, go to Nepal and climb Mount Everest. That is that's in my bucket list. You're laughing, but that is the facts right there. I'd love to do that. That is something I'm looking forward to do, hopefully.
Climb Everest.
Mount Everest. I mean, okay, not the very tip of Mount Everest, maybe the base camp at least.
Base camp, yeah.
At least.
Would you be able to cycle there?
Oh.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? But when you are basically going out and during a day, you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that, the rich pay less taxes or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true, the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods, they're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if that, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK. We've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? Because in a public company where the stock is traded openly on the stock exchange, the value of that stock is driven by supply and demand, it's driven by emotion, it's driven by news, it's driven by quite a lot of variables over and above the actual accounting or total net worth of that company. I mean, we've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? And the company may still have value, it may still be doing quite a good thing.